Hi, my name is Tom Gagliano, and I am here to talk to you about addiction. Spend a few seconds with me and see if you could take out something from what I say that will make you or give you the willingness to continue the presentation I have for you today. How many of you have family or friends that suffer from addiction and you've tried to help them and you don't understand why do they refuse help and love when it's offered? Or maybe you're an addict yourself, a recovering addict, and you get sober, but you can't stay sober. I understand. That's a dilemma. You'll never find happiness in your life unless you find sobriety first, because you won't like yourself enough to let love in and to be loved. That's what will happen. So as we go forward in this presentation, I'll tell you about myself in little pieces, and you'll understand why I'm an expert and what we're going to talk about, addiction. So there's three pieces I want to talk about: the problem, the solution, and how to work the solution. So let's talk about the problem. A lot of people think that the problem is addiction. If I'm an alcoholic, it's drinking. If I'm a gambler, it's gambling. If I'm an overeater, it's eating. No. That's the symptom. The problem is the brokenness inside. We turn towards addiction as a form of oxygen. Why would any fair-minded person choose an addiction that not only hurts their lives, but hurts the ones they love, throws God to the side? Why would we make this thing called addiction so very powerful? Why would it become like emotional oxygen that we felt like we couldn't live without it? It doesn't make sense. So I want to talk about the addictive thinking first and how it's created. So the problem first is not the addiction, it's the brokenness inside. Some way, some shape, some form. An addict goes to that addiction feeling, I cannot live without it. I'm going to die emotionally. And it's not about love. They love their family, themselves, but they just cannot stop the addiction. They feel like they can't live without it. Very, very powerful. What makes it so powerful? We're going to talk about that. So number two, solution. What's the solution? Well, the solution to all addiction is a we process. Whether it's 12 steps, a therapist, a rehab, whatever it is, it's not a me process. And I'll say it again. The ones that I know that stop their addiction without making it a we process and kind of changing their life, they're the ones that have switched seats on the Titanic. Doesn't matter where you sit. If I go from drinking to gambling or gambling to spending or spending to drugs or whatever it is, eventually I'm going to make my life unmanageable again. So the solution is a we process. It's getting help, having the courage to allow other people to help you. What's the third piece? How to work the solution. Now, this is a tough one. That is also a we process, but different. It's not only the willingness to get help, like the solution, but now it's the willingness to take direction. Could I allow others to guide my thinking? Whoa. I don't know about that. Because why? Because addicts have learned early on that they need to take care of themselves. They don't count on other people. They want to be in control of the process. They don't trust any process that they can't control. And the problem with addicts is that when we, and I'm a recovering addict, when we get uncomfortable feelings, when we have conflict in our life, we don't resolve it through people and a higher power. We resolve it with addiction. That's the only thing that can get us through this. So I teach my clients, and I've taught my sponsees and others how to regulate the discomfort, how to deal with conflict, life on life's terms, and not go to an addiction. Because that's the biggest obstacle is trust. I lost trust early on in my life, and I don't trust anybody later on in my life. But trust is the segue to sobriety and to a happier life. So I'm going to bring in a little bit about what I learned. I have a master's degree in social work, a CMAT certificate in drugs and alcohol. What I bring into here right now is how I overcame my own obstacles, what I did, what I learned in a 12-step fellowship, what I learned in the years of therapy, and what I learned in school. I have a master's degree in social work from Rutgers. So I put all of these pieces together and I give it to you. Please take out what you can that you can use and leave the rest. You don't have to agree with everything I'm saying here. But if there's some nuggets of wisdom that you could take with you to help recovering addicts or to help yourself as an addict, please by all means, take with you. So what I learned is that children are egocentric. What does that mean? The world revolves around them. My son, for Father's Day, my 5-year-old son said, "Hey, Dad, what are you getting me for Father's Day?" The world revolves around him. I remember once I was taking my son down the stairs, and I tripped, and I had him. He was like 4 years old, and I banged into the wall, and I got a nail in my arm, and I was bleeding. My glasses broke, but he was fine. I cuddled him, and he looked at me, and he goes, "Dad, it's not nice to throw little boys down the stairs." I didn't throw them down. Everything revolves around them. Why I'm saying this? Here you go. Very important. Hear me clear. A child that doesn't feel like they matter to their parents will not stop loving their parents. They'll stop loving themselves. Again, a child that feels like they don't matter to their parents won't stop loving their parents. They'll stop loving themselves. It's very important. We're taught that our parents, at a very early age, they teach us how to view the world and how the world views us. We don't want to look negative at them. And if they don't give us the messages that we matter, it must be us. When my father was drinking and never came home and womanizing, I never said, "Gee, at 10 years old, this guy needs a program. This guy needs therapy." I said, "What's the matter with me that he doesn't want to be with me?" Now, today we live in a tough culture. Moms and dads are working all the time, and they're good parents. They're saving for college, for school. But do they really know how their child sees it in an early age? Does their child say, "Hey, why don't they pay more attention to me? What's wrong with me?" And then you got this thing called digital products that it's so easy to go to gamble, to do all these things, all these processing addictions. It makes it so easy. And it's a great escape when you're not feeling good about yourself. And that's how it starts. That's why most addictions start in the teens, a very young age. So what happens to somebody that feels like they don't matter? They become fragmented, split into two. The outside, all different masks. Addicts, we're all different. We come in different colors, different religions, some rich, some poor, all different. On the inside, that's where we're the same. We feel like something's wrong, like we're broken. And I will not let anybody see how I feel on the inside. I will protect that. I believe I had a voice, always an inner voice, always screaming for help. But I dare not ever let anybody hear that voice. I wouldn't let him in. I didn't trust him. So I couldn't let love in or be loved. I didn't know how. My version of intimacy from my parents didn't show me that. My father was always running away, shutting down. My mother was angry. She was a kid herself when I was born. Nobody taught me what emotional intimacy was into me. Nobody. And I followed trait like most of us do. We either do what our parents showed us or we do the exact different thing. Okay. So the solution is a we process, and that's taking directions. So what I try to do is build in the people I help what I call witnesses, those who know your truth, those you can trust, those you could talk to. It does not happen right away. You got to ease on in, okay? So usually when I speak to people, and I speak as I'm speaking to you right now, they do relate to me. They relate, wow, I do feel like what this guy is saying really makes sense. Trusting me helps them to have the willingness, what I said, how to work the solution, the willingness to take direction, even if I don't want to, even if I don't feel like doing that. Because the solution eventually is going from fragmentation, as I said before, to congruency. I become one person. I say what I mean what I say. I don't have to hide anymore. But I have to feel good about myself, because the most important relationship everyone listening to this has is the one you have with yourself. You're the common denominator in all your relationships, the key ingredient. So we want to build a better self before we can work on those relationships. And if we build a better self, what comes with that is now I could start to have adult conversations. I'm not a scared little kid running away. I could build empathy for others. I could share my feelings because I feel like I'm worth it. I deserve to be happy, unlike I don't deserve to be happy. I know what boundaries are. What do I like in life? What boundaries do I put down when somebody's hurting me? I don't shut down. I don't play this people pleaser role or this codependency role where I don't want to share my feelings because I might hurt someone. but I do it in an empathetic way. This is the stuff I teach my clients. I do this in my groups that I facilitate. We role play. We talk about how do we have these adult conversations. And here's what I learned. The uncomfortable conversations, those are the ones that bring closeness with those around us. But they're uncomfortable. I teach people how to have those uncomfortable conversations. Because what do we want? We want intimacy, into me. We want to get closer to other people. Now, what I also see in my clients is they develop addictive rituals. If you're going to reach out when you're ready to take a drink or gamble, or you're ready to take a drug or something, it's too late. You learn what your ritual is. What is the trigger? Reach out when that trigger hits. Not when you're already on your way, because you're going to eliminate your witnesses if you're on the way to do that. And for those of you that are confused between love and enabling, has anything worked? Did you tell your partner or parents or daughters or sisters or brothers or whatever, did you love them to health? Did your love for them get them to work on themselves and to stay sober? Did you lecture them to health? Did you protect them, calling the boss, oh, we can't come in today because he's sick, or she can't come in today because she's not feeling good? That's enabling. What gets somebody to get better and to take willingness to take direction usually comes in very tough consequences. Either they're in trouble with the law, they keep losing their job, they can't keep a job, or their family says enough, you got to get out. You got to get out. It usually comes from when you are afraid of losing something you really want or not getting something that you want. Those are the areas where the person might say, hey, you know what? I better take direction here. I better take a shot here. I don't feel like it. I don't want to do it. But look at my life. I may be going to jail, or I can't get a job, or my wife, family, mother, father, they won't let me in. And it's tough. That's why the people that are in recovery, I'm talking to you out there that are confused with enabling and love, you need to get help. Maybe go to a professional therapist. Maybe go to an Al-Anon meeting where they teach you didn't cure it, cause it, or control. You can't cure it, cause it, or control it. You need to get help. The family needs to be in recovery if you do want to make this work, because you have to learn that difference. So what do I do in my groups is we learn to have healthy conversations. We learn what our ritual is. So we can text each other when we have an uncomfortable feeling, not when we're ready to act out. When we have conflict, not when we're ready to use our addiction. Way before that. That's the trigger, not the addiction. The feeling like I don't know how to regulate this. Changing the coping mechanism. And it takes work. And it takes doing what you don't feel like doing. Because congruency is really, really the answer. When we're congruent, we feel okay. We show up as one. And for those that are in a relationship with an addict, you've developed, and this is hard to hear, you've developed an adaptive role around the addict to survive the relationship that's not healthy either. Maybe you're a people pleaser, caretaker. Maybe you are invisible, whatever it is. That role you've developed, it's not a healthy role. That's why you have to get help. You have to reach out and allow other people to teach you. And for those of you that are step people, like I was, I started to do step work with people when I was in my house, step 1, 2, 3, 2, 12. And then I went to school and learned a little bit of a different methodology, but using the step work. Step 1, what am I powerless over? My addiction, my fears, my codependency. Step 2, I need to get help from other people. Not just God, God's with skin. People that have been through this. People that are professional that know about this. Step 3, what actions did they teach me that work? What did you do? What worked for you? And if it didn't work for you, why would you think it's going to work for me? Step 1, 2, and 3. So I teach that. But then one day, while in school, I had a breakthrough with my 8-year-old son, of all people. We were watching a baseball game. He said, hey, Dad, why do the kids and the fans root so hard for their favorite baseball player? And I said, well, those baseball players are the heroes. He stopped. He thought about what I said. He said, you know, Dad, someday they may be my hero, but you're always going to be my first hero. You are all your children's first hero, whether you want that responsibility or not. And I started to realize how impactful childhood messages were in our children's life. And then I started to run groups in my home before I did this professionally, free of charge, teaching people the power of childhood messages. What messages do we want to hand down? What is the tsunami of thoughts and ideas we've carried our whole life that we have to challenge? That hasn't helped us. Maybe some messages were good. Maybe some messages need some attention because they're not helping you. So I dealt with childhood messages. And then I had this experience with my oldest son where we had to put our dog down. And the dog was just about the same age as my son. And I remember walking to the room and saying, hey, you okay? He said, I'm okay, Dad. And I put his arms around my chest and his head on my shoulders. And he started to cry, unbelievably. When I shared feelings as a kid, my father called me his little girl. That's what he addressed me at. And that message, I still struggle getting to my feelings today. That's how powerful these messages are. But you know what, that day with the dog, I was giving my son the safe place. A place to cry in his father's arms. A place I never had as a kid, but a place I was giving my son that day. To give our children permission that they can share their feelings. It takes courage. So that they learn that they can do that. To give our children permission that they can make a mistake doesn't mean they are a mistake. That they're going to fail at times doesn't mean they are a failure. These early messages are so important, and they go right into what we've been talking about. We then don't have to be fragmented and hide who we really are inside. Now, if you want to learn more about me, about my groups, you could go on The Problem Was Me. That's my website. And you can search. I've spoke for Dr. Oz, for T.D. Jakes. I didn't want to give you all of this stuff. I want to make this short. I was on Newsmax, Jenny McCarthy. Please go on there. I have best-selling books. The Problem Was Me, and the other one, Don't Put Your Crap in Your Kid's Diaper. But I'm going to ask you to take out one thing from me. Not all this other stuff, but what can you use? You've listened to me for about 17 minutes now. Hopefully you stayed with me. What could you take out that you can use? Not only if you're an addict or you're dealing with addicts, what could you take out that you could use in your life? What childhood messages are directing you to play roles in your life that might be hurting or sabotaging your happiness? Think about it. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. And if you did stick with me this long, thank you. I know you have other things you could be doing. Take care.